Yeah. Yep. Cool. December. They have played literally no games yet. Cool. I'm ready.
Are you really ready right now, Rick?
I am very ready.
Well, I got my hot cocoa. What do you have for me?
What type of fly loves bread?
I got no idea there, Rick.
A butterfly.
Oh my god, that's so dumb. Well, welcome to another week of college basketball. Again, this is like we're somehow still going through college basketball, but there have been more casualties this last week. I will admit that there have been plenty of casualties in terms of cancellations or postponement games. We'll get to those in a little bit. But again, first very segment we always start with right now. Hello and goodbye to the top 25s. Hello in the top 25. I will begrudgingly say hello to the number 25 spot, Louisville. You're not a mid-major, but hello to number 24, San Diego State, our mid-major team. We will be getting to them in a little bit when we talk about their games that happened this week and why they got into the rankings, why they moved up. However, goodbye to number 21 last week, Oregon, who I guess their loss to Missouri dropped them out of the top 25 rankings, but they are getting votes. They are still getting votes in the top 25 rankings if you're at all a Pac-12 fan, but like, who cares about the Pac-12? They're not going to win basketball anytime soon, let's be honest. But also goodbye to the top 25, number 20, Kentucky, who has lost 3 straight games, 2 to ranked teams, Richmond and Kansas, but a big loss last week to Georgia Tech. That was a little bit of a surprise, even though they are from Power Conference, but...
I mean, they're the Yellow Jackets, aren't known for Jack Diddley. Yeah, Kansas, long and short of it is, you suck.
And what's funny is that they aren't even getting a single vote.
Nope.
Like, they dropped big.
And their fans are turning on them. I saw on Twitter, one guy was just like, yeah, I'm not trying to watch the NBA. I'm trying to watch the NCAA. Stop bringing in the pros and start bringing in players that'll play on a team.
It's surprising. There was a lot of people. There were a lot of people like turning on them from Kentucky, but there were a lot of people also like, what just happened to us?
Remember that one year when Kentucky was supposed to win it all, and then they went to the NIT and lost in the first round? I do. It was hilarious.
So those are good. Those are our goodbyes to the top 25. Thankfully, as mid-majors, we traded 1 and got rid of 2 out of there. And then still ranked number 1 overall, Gonzaga, and still stayed at number 19, Richmond Spiders. Still getting votes. Only 1 mid-major team, St. Louis. Mm-hmm. BYU and Loyola Chicago dropped from the rankings. Now, I feel like the first point that we have on our list, Loyola Chicago, still yet has played a game. I mean, I think they were only getting 1 vote at this point. They still have yet to play a game, and I'm sure that probably factored into a lot of these votings. I'm sure you can agree with that, Rick. Their first game is on December 9th versus Chicago State, for anyone that wants to watch that game.
Wednesday night basketball.
Pretty much.
Yay!
Pretty much, but I mean, I guess that's probably the reason why they dropped from the rankings. They just
haven't played, and so their resume isn't as strong as other people's.
Yeah.
Kind of like how San Jose State is undefeated in college basketball.
San Jose State undefeated in college basketball. They were 4-0 to start the season in college football.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's kind of funny. It's funny seeing who's undefeated.
Yeah. Is Santa Clara still undefeated?
I think Santa Clara is still undefeated. I don't know about the games today. I haven't watched
South Bay represents.
But another team that we won't be talking about, number 19, Richmond. Their games last week with Charleston and Furman were canceled as well, so we don't have much to talk about them, which probably is the reason why they haven't moved in the rankings, probably.
You can't lose if you don't play.
True. And then I guess we'll just knock this one out of the way early. The one that's getting the votes St. Louis, their game against Arkansas Pine Bluff. By the way, their ranking on Ken Palm, as you can see, was 353 out of the 357 teams in college basketball.
Not last.
Not last, but damn near close to the bottom. St. Louis won 107 to 54. Again, what are the stats that we should talk about when talking about these teams against these kinds of teams? 26 assists, so they were passing the ball pretty well. 14 steals. 65.6% shooting from the field goal. But I will mention this, 23 fouls. However, majority of them were from the 8th, 9th man off the bench, or the 8th, 9th man in the rotation.
From the younger players, the non-starters. Starters picked up 5 fouls, which means 18 fouls went to bench players.
Right.
That probably means, in all honesty, that there were more fouls than points on the bench.
Right. I'm sure. I didn't get too much into that as well. But I mean, if you look at the 3-point opportunities, 11 for 17 in total from the 3-pointers. But again, let's look at the starters. What were the starters doing?
Not shooting free throws.
Well, I mean, shooting 3-pointers, 8 for 12, which is still really good. Even against a team that, yes, is in the very bottom, maybe will get 1 or 2 wins within their conference. I'm not going to use certain adjectives to describe it. But
they were 1 shot above. They were so close to being a higher field goal percentage than free throw percentage. You missed it by 1 shot, y'all.
Right. But I mean, their 3-point game was doing well, which I mean is still surprising even against these bottom teams. And their free throw percentage again that's not a good free throw percentage. 66% from the free throw line, 16 for 24. They got to the line a lot, but again, their starters, I'm sure they weren't going.
4.
Yeah, it was 1 for 4. I'm sure they weren't going hard. They were probably recognizing this as a practice game, so I don't know much more you want to talk about with this, but it's I know that's what I'm feeling too. It's just okay, their starters were doing really good. Let's see what they can do against some better teams that are not in the bottom. I don't know what percentage that is.
So I will put it to you this way. If they had scored 1 more free throw, they would have doubled up the score, and they would have scored better on... Oh, wait, no. They need to score 1 less free throw. Yeah.
Yeah, free throws don't count in terms of the field goal percentage, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So then let's get into our top 25, our new team into the top 25, San Diego State, who did really well last year. We were thinking that they didn't drop that much this year. Both games against Colorado State this last week were postponed, if not canceled. I'm not too sure where that mixes into all the things.
Is anything actually canceled or postponed?
Honestly, really at this point. But they did play 1 game against a team WCC team that is going to be in the top of the WCC, maybe possibly squeak their way into the tournament.
Pepperdine's the Kentucky of the West.
Hey, at least they didn't lose 3 games in a row.
They're working on it.
I mean, they may have, because San Diego State did beat Pepperdine 65-60, so a very close game between them two. So what did San Diego do? 42% from the field, 2 for 19 3-point line. However, 11 steals, which is still a lot, 11 offensive rebounds, 21 for 31 from the free throw line. So they got to the free throw line quite a bit. Pepperdine, 7 for 21 from the 3-point line and 14 assists from Pepperdine. So I still want to give Pepperdine a shout out through all this because it's a team that we're probably going to be talking about really soon.
I'm going to ask that next time you put Pepperdine stats, you also put a separate line for Colby Ross.
I will keep that in mind
because I feel like there are 2 different Pepperdine teams.
Right, I know, I get it, and I understand there is, but it's I still at least want to give Pepperdine a shout out because that 7 for 21 from the 3-point line is showing something.
Yeah,
it's 33%. That's showing a lot of potential from the 3-point line.
Yeah, and shout out Colby Ross for being the perennial second best player in the WCC every week, because that award is given to whatever Zag played the best that week. But Colby Ross will always be number 2. So you'll probably get WCC Player of the Year without ever once winning WCC Player of the Week.
Probably. And one thing I do want to criticize from this game is the turnovers from both teams. 15 turnovers from San Diego State and 16 turnovers from Pepperdine. Like, that's they definitely need to work.
Didn't you know that they agreed beforehand they were just going to turn it over 15 times each?
I know.
So there's only 1 turnover in the entire game.
I mean, yes, it does even out to that, but it's just like that's something that both teams are definitely going to be needing to work on. I'm pretty sure we probably talked about that against with Pepperdine last week.
Yeah.
Probably with one of the teams last week too.
BYU?
Going along with the WCC teams, a team that was receiving rankings but no longer anymore, but I'm sure a team that we'll probably see again in at least getting votes at some point in time during this season too.
Probably once people realize that USC is one of the best teams in the Pac-12 at basketball this year.
Yes.
Which, ask me 10 years ago if that statement was ever going to be true, and the answer is going to be over everybody's dead body.
I mean, USC did have a really good team in the 90s. Was it?
I don't know. They were probably before I was born.
I felt like it was USC. And I mean, granted, I was growing up.
Are you talking about football under Pete Carroll?
It may have been. But I thought, like, at least with Stanford and USC were really good. Like, at least a sport other than volleyball and soccer. But BYU losing to USC this last week, 79-53. Oh, my goodness. BYU not shooting all that well from the field, 27.5%. I guess not that much better from the 3-point line, 7 for 30. However, 15 offensive rebounds for BYU.
So, wait.
But they were out rebounded in total 35 for 50.
That is outstanding statistic. You get 15 putbacks, but my lord. Anyway, Jimmer.
And I want to say I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure they out offense rebound USC in this stat too. I don't think USC got close to 15. I think they may have gotten 10 at the most.
Mark Pope, what are you doing? What is your game plan this year? Also, Jimmer. Apparently BYU needs you. They are pulling the sword out of the stone. You need to go home.
Pretty much. But again, I don't know what to talk about with this game because, I mean, we look at those individual stats. Like, I guess
I've heard,
the 15 offensive rebounds is probably the best stat out of this entire game.
So from what I've heard is that that Purdue transfer guy, Harms or whatever his name is.
Harms, yeah. He was supposed to, like, boost BYU up there.
It's not happening.
It was one of these games.
Well, apparently he knows how to offensive rebound.
Probably. That's about it. But again, I want to talk about this last, I guess, really 5 minutes.
I know what's wrong with BYU.
What is?
They don't have a Haas on the roster for the first time in 87 years.
Bullet mustachio.
Okay, anybody can be Mr. Cornstash. But, the first time in 87 years there hasn't been a Haas on their roster.
Honestly. And I mean, I guess it kind of showed in this last 5 minutes of the first half where USC did go on a 10-0 run at the end of the first half. It was really 4 minutes, 49 seconds. BYU, this is their resume in that 4 minutes, almost 50 seconds. 4 missed 3 points.
Fair.
10 total misses, but they got 4 offensive rebounds. So, 40% of those missed shots, they got the rebounds.
And if you get an offensive rebound, okay, so an offensive rebounded off a 3 is sometimes just a wild ball you go chase. But more often than not, when you get an offensive rebound, you're in the paint and you gotta finish it.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's the more surprising stat right there is having the 4 offensive rebounds.
And it also means they had 6 shots inside the 3-pointer. Wow, okay, that's terrible. But they did rebound with a win against St. John's.
So moving on to that game, St. John's, BYU did beat St. John's 74-68.
Almost nice.
54% from the field. That's good against St. John's, a Big East team that is St. John's will be a dark horse team to we'll get that upset.
St. John's is athletic and gritty.
Yeah, they may not make the tournament, but it's a team that's
they're not an easy.
We're gonna make sure you don't make the tournament kind of a thing. But again, 3-point shots, 10 for 27, so they did a lot better on the 3-point shots. 15 assists, 11 offensive rebounds, so it's definitely going to be an offensive rebound heavy team, especially at St. John's. However, big point, 19 turnovers. 19 turnovers against St. John's.
As I said, tough and gritty. So credit the defense without having watched the game. But at the same time, what is the shooting got better in the second half?
So their shooting got better in the second half for BYU. BYU's first half shooting percentage, 36.4 field goal. Second half, 55.6. 3-point shot in the first half was 25. Their second half, oh my goodness, 54.5%.
So they fixed it.
Yes, so Pope figured out what to do during half. He knew what to tell these guys.
Okay. So BYU is a latter day team.
Moving on to the Utah game. Utah State, my bad. And I would probably say, kind of combined with the absolute blowout of the USC game, the close win over Utah State probably put them out of whatever the top 25, because I think they were only getting maybe one vote in the top 25. So the Utah State game, they did win 67-64. Field goal percentage wasn't, I would put St. John's over Utah State, but field goal percentage, 40%. Not that good from the 3-point line, 8 for 22. They did get to the free throw line quite a bit, 15 for 19, so they were able to get a bunch of points there. Again, turnovers from what I was saying from St. John's, 19 turnovers from St. John's, 14 turnovers against Utah State. Utah State was able to out offense rebound BYU, surprisingly, with 13 offensive rebounds. And Utah State was also down 11 points with 11 minutes left in the game. And they were able to rally, I think tie the game, maybe have made the lead by 1 point, but BYU ended up being the ultimate victor with 3 points.
That stat means nothing to me. I have watched a St. Mary's team in the kennel be down 20 in the second half and come back to win it on a floater at the buzzer by Mickey McConnell.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mickey McConnell, I hate that guy. He's number one on my St. Mary's shit list. But I don't know if he's on Twitter, so thus, Deli, you get to bear the brunt of that.
Yeah, but it's I think that game versus Utah State, especially the fact that they got only one vote for the top 25, I think that Utah State barely victory for BYU would probably put them over the edge. Obviously, with the USC absolute loss.
The better rebuttal is Utah State is not St. Mary's.
True. Yes, that is true.
But Utah State, the Aggies, are they Mountain West or are they WAC?
Mountain West.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not nothing.
Yeah, they're gonna be going against San Diego State, so we'll see how that goes.
So
and especially as the season goes on, we'll see how obviously BYU fares against Gonzaga. But I'm sure they were already getting votes. BYU is.
If you're gonna be a top 25 team, you can't have a 3-point game against Utah State.
No, not especially against any other mid-major team that's just not ranked.
Yeah.
Essentially, or just not getting votes either. But I think that we will probably be talking about BYU, not because that they play Gonzaga. I think we will be talking about them because they will be getting votes.
They're running out of time to build a resume, though.
Right. But I think that they will just be at least get votes. They won't. They probably won't make the top 25. They will definitely make the tournament. But we will probably be talking about them just because they were getting votes.
Cool.
Is that fair? All right.
Hang on, time out.
Yes, time out.
Did San Francisco not get any votes despite beating Virginia?
No, they did not. They have not gotten votes because they did lose to someone.
Wasn't it Memphis?
Yeah, I think they lost to Memphis.
Because I know St. Mary's lost to Memphis, so
Yeah, I think San Francisco has gotten a loss recently, and I think that's why they haven't gotten any votes yet.
okay.
But we might be talking about more WCC teams pretty soon.
West Coast,
That's
West
not-
Coast.
That's not either BYU or St. Mary's, to be honest.
Pack is back.
So, last team that we're going to be talking about, the number one team since preseason, Gonzaga University, who we obviously represent, so we're going to be talking about them a lot more. Let me get my hot cocoa. Let me make sure that logo, yep, just making sure that we have everything Gonzaga going on right now. But Gonzaga this last week only played one game against the number 15
11.
team, 11 actually, yep. West Virginia. They got a, you're gonna fix my notes even though no one can see it.
Correct.
Yeah, the number 11 team, West Virginia. They won 87-82.
Mm-hmm.
Field goal percentage for Gonzaga, 49.3. Let me get to that stat in a little bit. 22 assists.
Better than before.
That is typical Gonzaga right there. And that was something that we
Well,
talked
that's-
about last week where it wasn't... This team doesn't feel like a typical Gonzaga team with the passes. 22 assists feels like a typical Gonzaga team.
So here's the catch with the 22 assists: is it's going to be inflated because you're playing press Virginia and you beat the press with the pass.
Yeah, you beat the press and you beat that zone defense that they have. Yes, obviously.
So you have to play. Your assist numbers is going to be spiked against a team like West Virginia.
Right. But it feels like that's a typical Gonzaga number at least.
Yeah.
9 steals against West Virginia, which is surprising.
More than they got.
Yeah. However, Gonzaga 11 turnovers. That's
great against press.
Right. That's great against them. I will admit that. But again, like if you're going to be going against these higher ranked teams, like a top 15 team, that's like at least making sure that you keep that in check. That's at least under your radar.
Yeah.
11 offensive rebounds, however. 10 offensive rebounds, my bad. I was looking at the 11 stat. 10 offensive rebounds against West Virginia. West Virginia was able to get 14 offensive rebounds on their end. And I was thinking that was more because of size, but I'm just surprised that the 10 offensive rebounds Gonzaga got.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at our guards. We got Denbard, Ayeyi, and then we also got Time and Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 4 rebounding machines.
Yeah.
They're going to be gobbling those balls up, and so, and they're going to be contesting. And so I'm not too surprised about that. West Virginia did actually have a size advantage, but they had a skill deficit, and so I'm actually glad that we didn't fight over those 14 offensive rebounds because that West Virginia got, because we didn't. Time could not be in foul trouble. We don't have the front court depth.
Right. But speaking of what you're going off with before with the turnovers, saying that West Virginia, Gonzaga forced West Virginia off more turnovers. Gonzaga had 23 points off turnovers. Not only that, there was a question I posed to you last week.
Yeah.
That question was, can Gonzaga score in the paint against this team that's heavily zoned?
I said yes.
I didn't think you were going to say this big of a yes. 62 points in the paint against West Virginia. Now, there was a big stat that I saw as well. 60 points in the paint versus Kansas, which was the most and second most points in the paint against a Big 12 team in the last 10 years.
Gonzaga, Big 12 champion.
Wow.
Again. I remember when I was a student, Gonzaga went 5-0 against the Big 12 one year.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It was
impressive.
I think it was against
Iowa and Illinois.
No.
Iowa State in there.
Iowa State was in there. The big one was at Oklahoma State.
Okay, they had that.
And it was right around Spangler. I think it was the year after Marcus Smart graduated.
Okay. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean that was the biggest question. Like I was really worried about with Gonzaga is can they score in the paint against West Virginia?
Which kind of
Obviously they can.
Yeah.
But it was like 62 of the 87 points that they scored were in the paint. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot. Which kind of gets back to the point where the stat that I skipped over, 4 from 16 from the 3-point line.
I mean, that mitigates it. And 4 for 16 is 25%.
Yeah.
And
It's-
you got to factor out probably 2 of those threes were just terrible, jacked up. So it's probably closer to like 4 out of 14, which is enough to keep the defense honest. And when you're able to score 25 points every game from your center, who cares if you are an average 3-point shooting team?
Yeah. But I mean, the 3-point shot is something that Gonzaga does need to keep in check going
Oh
forward.
yeah, no, they need to work on that.
That's something that's going to be the biggest criticism I'm going to have of this team is can they shoot the 3? Because you make one big 3. Jordan Matthews is
And-
on the floor. He makes one big 3. That boosts you going.
Okay, so here's the other thing you gotta put in context with it being West Virginia, is with that press defense, it's gonna be really hard to get open space on the perimeter for that 3.
Yeah.
And so you get that by breaking down the defense, by doing screens, and by inside out. And if you throw it inside and the inside can score, why are you passing it back out?
Right, if you can score 62 points in the paint, I mean, why take the 3? That's what it breaks down to.
Yeah.
You don't shoot well with unassisted threes against a zone.
Right. And I mean, that 60-point stat against Kansas in the paint is also impressive as well. However, with Gonzaga, their game against Baylor was postponed, canceled. We'll see in the future. However, there was no game. However, my question I want to pose to you, Rick, can this hurt any team? Because you have to think about it. Baylor is still going to have to play Kansas. Gonzaga beat Kansas. Say Baylor beats Kansas even by a bigger score. Does that put Baylor above Gonzaga? Does it put them still behind? How does this game being canceled? Imagine we don't have this game if it's not rescheduled around Christmas time.
It hurts Kansas.
Right, it's going to hurt Kansas the most, obviously, if they lose against Baylor.
No. Us not playing Baylor hurts Kansas. It doesn't hurt Gonzaga and it doesn't hurt Baylor. Because Kansas now has a big fat L at the start of their season. And they're in a must-win situation against Baylor, especially if they want to have a 1 or a 2 seed in the tournament. They have to beat Baylor at least once. Whereas if Gonzaga can go slap a big L in Baylor's column, then suddenly Kansas can afford to drop both Baylor games and still split the Big 12 or win their tournament or whatever to still have a shot at a 1 or a 2 seed in the Midwest. So if you're looking at NCAA tournament seeding,
not Midwest. It's now Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, Region 4, because it's all in Indianapolis this year. So it's no longer West, South,
That's
Midwest. Just so you know.
Okay. That's
so instead
dumb.
of having the 2 seed in Region 2,
that's
I know
so dumb.
That's what it's.
Anyway, point is,
Yeah.
that's where it hurts Kansas. It doesn't necessarily hurt Baylor or Gonzaga either way to not play the game, unless you're looking at a number 1 overall seed.
Yeah.
But let's be real, the difference between a 1 overall and a 2 overall,
There's not.
you're going to be on opposite sides.
It's not, yeah. So that's gonna be. I think that's gonna be the question going forward. Is just how does this game affect all 3 of those teams?
Now, I just want to see this game happen on New Year's Eve because, yes.
Between Gonzaga and Baylor.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess moving forward is usually where we would talk about what the games coming up are. However, even if these games were happening, I don't know what we would talk about anyways. But the games going forward for Gonzaga are going to be canceled against Tarleton, Southern University, Northern Arizona, and University of Idaho. Those games are all canceled due to COVID restrictions.
Probably Idaho gets rescheduled because it's a hop, skip, and a jump.
Right. Yeah. It's close by, so they're going to be canceled for right now. We'll see if they're rescheduled just because of testing. However, I think these games being canceled because the game right after these games is Iowa.
Yeah.
I think these games being canceled kind of hurts Gonzaga because, and here's the thing is that it's right now what we've been seeing from Gonzaga is a 6-man rotation. Yes, we haven't seen Dominic Harris and I'm forgetting the first name. Julian Strother. Combined 5 minutes in their one and only game that they played against Kansas. And beyond the 6-man rotation from the 5 starters in Nemhard, Aaron Cook has played an average of 12 minutes and Ballo has played an average of 7.3 minutes. I would at least want to see them with these teams get going, get their confidence.
Yes. So that would be nice to have a cupcake warm up. Mm-hmm. You have to recognize though that they're still going to be playing against themselves in practice, which is going to be better competition than the others. And yeah, it would be nice to have that tune-up game and build that out. But at the same time, you got to recognize Ballo was in foul trouble in one of those games. And Mark Few classically finds his 8 men and plays them. And we don't have front court depth. Behind Time, you have Ballo. When I was a freshman and it was Sacre and Will Foster, Sacre was playing 36 minutes a game. And it was kind of brutal to see that happen because he wasn't as effective because he had to stay able to put on the court. And so we're going to see a little bit of that from Time, but apparently that's not slowing him down on offense. He's a high motor guy. And with Aaron Cook, I haven't been impressed with Aaron Cook out there. He hasn't earned more minutes than that.
Yeah, I know.
And so who on this roster? We got Arlauskas, we got Zakharov.
And that's pretty much it because then you get into Lang and...
we have high talented
Lang and who am I thinking of?
Not Triano, because Triano graduated.
Yeah, I know. He graduated a long time ago. But yeah, it's like you have Lang and
Bowling for Soup.
Yes, pretty much.
Can you please change your jersey to say Bowling for Soup on it now?
Anyway, long story short, we have some high skill, great players. They need to be developed, and come tournament time, that rotation won't be a problem.
No.
Because we'll have depth. And the other thing is, like, I understand your worry about that.
Yeah, and especially, and granted, yes, we haven't had Harris or Strother.
Yeah.
And they weren't really that much. And again, against a team like Kansas, I wasn't expecting them to play that much anyways, especially being their very first game. It's definitely just a little bit.
Who are they going to get minutes against? Auburn?
Yeah, pretty much. But I guess kind of going along that too is at least someone that I want the confidence going for that I'm a little surprised to not see on the scoring sheet. That these games definitely could have helped.
Yeah.
In terms of confidence, and especially if you're going to go against Iowa next. Anton Watson.
Yep.
23 minutes, 4.3 rebounds. So he's rebounding the ball really well. However, only scoring 3 points a game.
Okay.
Like I think these games definitely could have helped him.
They could have helped him find his shooting groove, but I'm going to read to you a stat line from a previous Gonzaga player. So 35 minutes per game. No, games played, 35.
Yeah.
Minutes per game, 16.9. He was a starter. He had...
Holy crap, he was a starter?
He was a starter.
Or 16 minutes?
16.9 minutes.
Jeez.
Behind 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had the 6th most minutes.
Okay.
and average 2 points per game, rebounds 3.9, assists 1.1, steals 0.9, blocks 0.1. And yeah, so that player is Mike Hart. Mike Hart, starter in the 3 position. And that was on a team with, who else was on that team? We had Olynyk, we had Harris, we had Pangos, Bell, Dower,
Elias Harris,
Karnowski, Stockton, Drew Barham, Gielandry Eddy, Kyle Dranginis, Rambakamis, and Brian Baskar.
Yeah.
So that team had talent, and
Yeah.
he was a starting player.
Yeah, along similar lines along with Watson.
The role he fills is that glue guy. He's not being asked to be a primary scorer.
Yeah.
He is asked to be a shutdown defender and a rebounder. And what is he doing? He's picking up 4.3 rebounds in half a game. He's averaging essentially 8 rebounds a game.
Right. Yeah, so it's like I said, like again, like my concern is just I just want him to be on that stage.
He needs a shooting group.
Just because like he is going to be that person to help out Time down low, even more so than anyone else.
So what he needs to do is he needs to go into the court for the next like an hour and a half a day for every day for the next 2 weeks with the gun and just put up shots.
Right.
Hour and a half every day.
Yeah, that's why I just want to see Watson because there was a lot of hype that I was having from him last year.
Well, we watched him in the Bahamas,
Right.
and he could score.
Yeah, and that's the surprise.
Yeah,
It's
he
like-
probably doesn't want to hurt his shoulder, and he
And I
doesn't
get it.
need to.
Yeah, and I get it. And another thing that I just want to like keep in mind as well, keep it under our radar, be a little bit concerned about it because again, it's not part of it is the typical Gonzaga feel, but at the same time, it's not. There are 5 guys averaging double-digit scoring. That is essential Gonzaga right there.
Yeah.
However, the biggest difference, the lowest guy is Nembhard with 11.7 points, or 11.7 points on average, my bad. Then the next guy, the 6th highest scoring guy, Balla with 3.3.
Yes.
I feel like year after year, there's always like a 6th guy that we could have had in double digits. That's something to at least keep in mind. Yes, we've had to play the 3 hardest teams
Yeah.
so far. I will give you that. So this is definitely the 5 guys. Nembhard being the first guy off the bench, so that's
Yep.
very good to see. But something that just to keep in mind with, especially with Watson having such low points.
So and you're right. Like the counterpoint to that is where are the minutes for them to score points? And the other thing is those teams that you're talking about, the highest scoring players on those teams are 16, 17 points. And yet we have 2 players or 3 players in 25s or in the 20s.
At least 2, I want to say 3.
Yeah. So that's where the skew is. It's not the Gonzaga we're used to of recent years, but it's accountable.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to go see this team going forward throughout the season. Their next game is going to be next week against Iowa. So all of Gonzaga games are canceled this week. Upcoming mid-major games, the teams that aren't getting their votes anymore, but they were the previous weeks. Loyola Chicago playing their first ever game on the 9th against Chicago State, and then on the 13th against Illinois Chicago. BYU going against Boise State on the 9th, and Utah on the 12th. And then St. Louis is getting votes right now, going against Central Arkansas tomorrow on the 8th, probably today when I upload this video. And then on the 12th, Evansville, San Diego State going against ASU on the 10th. And then Richmond, a whole bunch of games this week, and against Warford today when we were filming this video. We'll talk about that game next week a little bit. Then on the 9th, going against Northern Iowa. We're going to be talking about them again. Northern Iowa, remember them?
Yes.
And then they're actually going to be going against West Virginia on the 13th. So we'll be talking about West Virginia once again.
That'll be a good game.
So how is Rutgers doing, by the way?
Rutgers has yet to play a game in the month of December. They will be playing tomorrow, the 8th.
So today, when we upload this video.
They will be playing Syracuse, who is also 3-0, where Rutgers will get their first loss and they will lose by 20 points, and they will no longer be ranked 21, and the world will be just and right again.
So until next time, please everyone stay safe and please stay healthy. We will see you all next week.
What bow cannot be tied?
What?
A rainbow.
Oh my goodness.